Okay, I am still not a professional streamer. Hi, Lucas. Thanks for leaving a comment and being the first to do so. Before we're going to dig in, want to check that the sound is coming in. I'm sorry, Lucas. You beat the widget. Your comment has not come up, but John, thank you for jumping in. Just want to make sure that the royalty-free background music isn't coming in too strong and that my audio levels are okay. Can you guys give me a heads up on that? Yeah. Good. We haven't gone into the premise too far yet, but hopefully you'll like it. Carlos. Greetings. Great. Yeah, I kind of had an idea for this stream for a while, and it was made a have we decided what they're calling them on Blue Sky now? A post saying that probably never judge a book by its cover is one of the most unfair proverbs because it invalidates an entire profession or something like that. And I thought it would be just funny to do a stream where I'm judging books by the cover. Hello, I'm glad to see everybody is tuning in. Yeah, the music could be a tad loud. It's at negative 25, so I'm going to drop it down to like negative 30. How's that going? Yeah, we're going to keep it a pretty chill stream. I've just come back from traveling to the States, and I'm only still slightly jet lagged, so this will be a bit of fun. I had really thought a bit about also the fact that UK and US editions of books have quite different cover designs, and I was trying to get really clever with it and compare the New York Times bestsellers versus the Sunday Times, and it was just a logistical nightmare. And I decided, well, why not use Goodreads, because they have a built-in function to switch to see different editions of the books. So I mean, I don't think it's a definitive list by any particular measure, but it's just more for convenience that I've chosen Goodreads. But I thought it'd be fun. We go through this year's readers' favorites. Not every single one, but just kind of skim through and take a look and see if we can spot any interesting design trends, any interesting designs and use of typography, or yeah, what else comes up. Let's have a look. I hope that you enjoyed the thumbnail, because that took me a good 10 minutes to make that thumbnail. So I hope my audience is old enough to at least understand the reference from that thumb. But yeah, we're going to start slow. So if there's questions in the chat, you know, I don't think I've made a video in since the American elections, I think. But I was making a good number over the summer when it was a bit more free time available, and I was hoping I would have a proper video out by the end of the year. But I think now we're in those weeks just before Christmas when basically all YouTubers kind of wrap things up. There's no sponsors around, that kind of thing, because, you know, we're money hungry influencers. No, there's some exciting things to announce, but it'll probably be next year. Working in the deep research on a couple of videos, and hopefully you guys will like them, but maybe we can talk about that a bit later. Carlos says, I'll look for Brazilian versions. I bet those would be really interesting with the Portuguese. So I think we'll just go in the order that they've been listed in, and as I'm going to try and be true to the name of the stream and judge these purely by the cover. I can't say I've read a lot of books this year. I may have heard a little bit of buzz about certain titles, but I don't think I've read any of these as far as I know. But we may get to some incidentally that I've read, but probably there won't be many appearances here. So we're going to start with the winner of this year's fiction, which is the Wedding People. Not heard anything about it. Let's close all of that information about... can we get a full resolution version of this book? Now, I know that Amazon, you can normally delete part of the URL and get a high-res image, but that's not doing it. That would be good if I can figure out how to do this. What about with the hardcover version? Can we open that image? Oh, that's looking a little bit better. Is it? Can we do something like this? If anyone knows the trick, I know how to do it from the main Amazon listing, how to get the full one, but it would be nice if I could avoid doing that. Can I remove just... No, surely not. No. This is probably okay for now, but let's see if we can get any better luck with the other edition. No, not really. Is there a way to get the full res one without opening the Amazon listings? Could be good if you have the camera set up closer to eye level. Okay. So it's not sticking up my nose. Let's adjust that before we get too far into the stream then. Let me see if I've got a box on my desk. I got this. This is the Osmo Pocket 3 camera. And I like it as a webcam. Let's see if that's a bit better. Yeah, I think so. Let's see. It's a little bit better to be like that. And yeah, that will do. Haha. You could image search them. Yeah, I could reverse image search them. I've tried to kind of keep this in Safari so it's a nice self-contained thing because it's not my daily driver browser. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's give that a try. Compressed. What about just photo.goodread.com? Not doing anything. Or maybe I can buy an Amazon. If I go here. Aha. And then I can do that. I mean, it's an extra step, but I can live with that. Let's do that. And then we can really kind of take a closer look at some of these. But I think this is the UK edition so far. So this is Goodreads. Okay. I don't know if that shortcut is really going to help me. But good suggestion. I don't know if that's maybe it's a Safari shortcut. I'm just not familiar with. But this does work. I think at least. Oh, it's got too many formats. That's a problem with Amazon. Okay. Yeah, there we go. All right, we've got the two editions. As I've put in the description, this is an unplanned and fairly chill stream. So there will be technical troubleshooting on the fly. No, this does not do side by side in Safari, which is why I don't use it as my daily driver. But we can do this. This is the old window trick. Yeah, let's give that a try. So this is the first book that I know nothing about. The Wedding People. I'm assuming from the cover that it's not your not the kinds of about a wedding in the standard sense. I'm assuming these are some kind of quirky characters. Wickedly funny is one of the pull quotes, so I'm guessing, yeah. I know I've seen them. I remember vaguely seeing the film Wedding Crashers with who? Will Ferrell, was he in it? Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson. I don't know. I would have no idea about the premise of this one, but I'm assuming it's about people who go to weddings but are not the bride and groom, with the kinds of things we're going. It looks, yeah, this one's based on confetti, and I like the type. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite kind of ultra high contrast serif typeface, but it's all right. Not a big fan of that D in wedding, but it evokes something. Out of the two, I think I prefer the American edition. I guess this is the American edition, and this is the British edition. I think the kind of hand rendered. Oh, I just noticed that the I in wedding is implied by the champagne bottle. That's a nice touch, with the cork being the tittle on the I. I think this is much more evocative, I think. Oliver's confused by what is a book. Mouse over in green sign. Perfect split. Oh, okay. Okay. There we go. I'm getting tips, but then I'm covering part of the. My face is covering part of one of them, so we won't. Can we undo that? Oh no. It was a good tip in general, but not the best tip for this particular situation. Anyway, from what I understand, let's go back. This edition is Henry Holt & Co. And the other edition, now I've lost the editions. Book details and editions. An unexpected error has occurred. So there we go, very chill. This edition is by Phoenix. I don't know who Phoenix are. An imprint of Orion Publishing Group. Well, not getting any clues. I don't know if these are the British and the American editions at all. The Read with Jenna faux sticker is never an element I appreciate. I don't know what Read with Jenna is either. So yeah, really judging purely from the cover, judging by the cover, because I don't want to get into book talk. I have my certain series that I read fairly regularly. They're mostly comforting trash. And then books. I used to be the person who bought books because they sounded interesting and then never read them. So that's my history as a reader. I think I just cancelled my Audible membership because it was just taking money from me all the time, and I couldn't get to spending the credits. But I think I've been on Audible for like 10 years or something, and unlocked all of the different levels of the badges, achievement badges. So I did at least at some point listen to books a lot, but I'm not up to date with book culture, so I don't know who Jenna is. But yeah, design wise, I think this cover is much more evocative of something. This is a layer of abstraction. There's some broken hearts in the confetti, so I'm assuming there's some stories of love going wrong, obviously, in the book. But it's all quite, I don't know if it grabs me as much as this of like the metaphor of drowning, I guess, in weddings, drowning in relationships. I don't know if these are hands of the same person or two people in a couple. I think they're the same person. But I apart from the Read with Jenna sticker, that's a good point there. That the New York Times bestseller label at the top means it's probably likely American edition, at least. I don't know who these quotes are from, so I can't tell if they're British or American celebrities either. But that's our first book. I wouldn't say it's an astonishing cover. In either case, I think I would give the one on the left. I'm not going to do a tier list. I'm not going to do that. Sounds like too much work. This is meant to be unplanned and chill, so we won't do tier list rankings of these. But yeah, the feature I like on this is the wine bottle as the eye in Wedding. That's a nice touch, and I like this. The naive lettering kind of works for this kind of chaotic, assumingly chaotic character, central character. That's what I'm going to assume, based purely on the cover. But let's take a look what they were up against in the Reader's Choice Awards or Reader's Favorites. Sally Rooney, beaten quite handily, actually, at least in terms of number of votes. Sally Rooney, there's a lot of buzz. I know my wife's book club read one of her books a while ago. But this is very, very clever. A bit too clever for me. I don't really, when something's so clever that, it feels like they're going, look at how clever I am. I get a little bit of vibes from this. Okay, that's good. I didn't have to open up. And this other version, we have Intermezzo. Good. We didn't have to open up Amazon to get those two versions. There, let's put them side by side. F. Now I think the chessboard version is the American edition. I'm going to guess. That's the hardcover. That's the paperback. Oh, hardcover, paperback. There's some other versions of different colorways, but it seems like these are at least the two key illustrations for this title. Let's see. Just going to catch up with the chat before we get into breaking these two down. Okay, someone clarifies. They didn't mean the Read with Jenna sticker specifically, but generally faux stickers are an annoyance. Yeah, but marketing, that's a big thing about book cover design in general, is it's a form of marketing. So, as much as it's an art form, like a movie poster, it's it's art meets marketing, which is why it's kind of interesting. People like the kind of the 80s. There's an 80s vibe. Yeah, there's kind of like a faux airbrushed style to this one. Let's break it down. The blue one. There's that kind of what's it called? Analog airbrushed artwork style to this one, and there's a very strong use of negative space to draw your eye right in between these two legs to this character with the chess piece there. It makes quite a dynamic, asymmetrical, layout with some tension with that white chess piece there, which I guess is meant to draw your eye. Interesting also to see the name of the author is bigger than the title of the book, because obviously she got a huge amount of buzz for her book Normal People. So the name recognition is for the author more than the name of the book, which I don't know was the case with the previous one. But yeah, the other one, obviously chess is involved in this book somehow. I'm not sure if it's literal chess or a metaphor. Probably. Maybe. I don't want to know. I'm judging purely by the cover. But yeah, there's something about the one with the shadows cast. It's like, it's clever, but it feels a little bit too, to me, very subjectively, it feels a little bit self-congratulatory of look at the clever thing that I've done. But maybe that's just very harsh. There's a great account on TikTok, and I should have looked it up ahead of this stream, what it is. But there's probably more than one cover designer on TikTok. But there's a guy who does a really nice kind of series where he shows all of the alternate designs that he makes and which one the client eventually picks. And it's not always the ones that you think, oh, that's definitely the best one. It's not always the one that they pick. And that's really cool, actually, to see. So I wonder, this one feels just... It'd be interesting to see what versions they created of this cover that were maybe a little less... I don't know. Busy? Not busy? I don't know. Something about this. I would like to see other iterations of it. I'm curious about the other iterations of it. And you even saw, like, in the editions that there was a different colorway of this in red, I think, here. That's it. Or orange. So interesting. It does make you think also which one it was going to pop out more. Is it going to pop out more on the retail shelf or on social media? Interesting. Yellow, not as common, but this blue. I mean, the other thing is the blue is very vivid on screen, but I'm not sure if the in person, in print, it can be as vivid as this. There's something about the, like, you see this kind of blue used a lot for tech startups because it's, 100% RGB blue or very close to it. But then when you go print CMYK, it often feels a bit more flat than this. So unless they've done spot color printing for the cover, I'd be surprised if it was as vibrant as this in print. But taking a look at the typography, I really like. This is an interesting choice for Intermezzo. Very exaggerated, kind of almost ink trap. They evoke, they're not exactly ink traps, but they evoke that kind of exaggerated ink trap style. That N, for example. The cut into the elbow of the N and the M and the R are quite exaggerated in that one. And the big kind of heavy weight sans serif for the name does take up a lot of space and draws the eye. Whereas this edition is a bit more conservative, still quite a sharp and contrasty serif style. Oh, that's a problem with, Safari has now got some of these things where you can select the text inside the image. But yeah, interesting that they've highlighted the author of different books, her other previous titles. So yeah, maybe she's well known for the other title in the other market. Just checking out. Yellow one is corny as hell, says David. Yeah, that's what I'm not saying it's corny as hell, but it is a little bit too winking. What do I mean by ink trap? So ink traps. Let's do a quick little aside on ink traps. Bell Centennial font, I think. Okay. So this is a great example of an ink trap in a typeface. Is this font? It's quite an old typeface called Bell Centennial, and you probably think, why on earth does it look like this? Well, it was designed for printing phone books. I think this is it may be a digital revival of one for Bell Labs. Not Bell Labs, what are they called? Before AT&T, there was the Bell Corporation, or whatever they were. this isn't technology connections. I'm not going to get all of those details right. But they printed the phone book, and it was on very thin paper. Probably some of the people on the stream don't remember what a phone book is. It wasn't just something that do people even still rip phone books in half as a feat of strength? I don't know. Pacific Bell, yeah, the Bell Group, I don't know. And they used to print the phone book, like a list of everyone's phone numbers on a really thin paper. And so when you would press the ink into the paper, it would spread out because it would be absorbed. And so what ink traps do is to kind of create a negative cut into the interior space of the letter, so to accommodate and account for the ink spread, the ink bleed. And that is used now as kind of a stylistic thing, because you don't really, especially digitally, it's not needed, except there are similar effects when you put white text on a black background on something like a VR headset, and specific things like that. But generally, it's something from analog print. But now it's kind of done as a stylistic choice, and you can kind of cut into the counters, like the top of that A, and exaggerate that. And that's been done for a few display typefaces, fancy kind of fonts. I'm trying to think of a recent example. There's a Nordic retailer of electronics called Dustin, and they have get rid of that. Their corporate typeface does something like that as well. You can maybe see it into one of these. Zoom into the P there. You can kind of see in the crook of that P there, they've got cut in, and the D and the H. So it's that's just the example that comes off the top of my head. But there are a number of kind of, especially brands that have used this as a way of making a distinctive thing. And I think Intermezzo, you can kind of see they've got a similar thing there with the N, but it's so tall, it's kind of hard to see. But the N doesn't go straight down. It kind of, there we go, it doesn't go straight down vertically. It kind of kinks in a little bit there. So I wonder if this is from an extended type family with lots of different, different versions available. Let me close that. So let's show the two of them. That's Sally Rooney. Which do I like more? I like the blue one. Obviously, I think I've been hemming and hawing about what I don't particularly like about the yellow one. But yeah, the blue one is pretty. It's got a lot of again, kind of creates tension with that illustration in the center. Very mysterious, very almost Hitchcockian, I think somebody said in there. But oh god, someone said they found a phone book in an antique shop. Yeah, that will make you feel old. Phone books. That's some. Let's see. Hate the font on the yellow book. Yeah. This is. We won't go into every category, like every single one, but this one's one I have heard of vaguely, but I don't remember much else about it. Can I open this image? That is not a very high-res image. Green is not a creative color. Let's see the Kindle version. Does that? Yeah, it's a bit better. And do we have any other additions? Oh, interesting. Is that is the same? No, it's a different. Is it the same shop, the same illustration? I'm very curious. Can we find that edition? We can. We can look a bit closer at that. This looks like some anime nerd stuff. Is it the same illustrator? It looks... Yes, it does look like it's the same illustrator. I wonder which came first. Are those the only two cover designs? There's different typography, but the... Oh. Okay, this is a little bit different as well. Nope, can't find that edition. Oh well, so there's another edition with less blue. Part of me, in my kind of YouTuber experiences, now we have A/B testing on YouTube thumbnails. I wonder if there was A/B testing on the bluified nighttime scene versus the more neutral earth tone nighttime scene here, and they found the blue one to be more I don't know how you would test it, be the better. So they went, oh, there's like a German version with quite different typography again, but the same shop, but they changed the surroundings. That's very odd. Okay. This is quite an interesting one. I mean, there's not too much to talk about in terms of design. It's mostly about the kind of artwork there. I don't know if this is a visual novel. That's in German. I'm just gonna see if does it tell me if that's... I'm not gonna try and read about the plot. It just says fiction, so I'm assuming it's not a visual novel. I'm assuming it's just a regular one with words. The typeface, it's not, I don't think that is, no, the M tells me that's not Futura. I think that's something like Avenir or Gotham, maybe. I can't tell off the top of my head, and I won't be cross-examining it today. But the color is the main thing that stands out between these versions. Obviously, the blue nighttime one is the winner by the number of editions that I've chosen there. A balm for the soul, a glorious love letter to books and reading. So it's set in a bookshop. Are books about bookshops as self-indulgent as films about the movie industry? I don't know. Yeah, it says a novel on the cover, so it's not a comic, not a visual novel, which they removed the original Korean from that plate to put that there, which is, yeah, that's a choice as well. I do wonder if it was actually recolored and recycled, or if it was two different illustrations. But yeah, I don't know. That gives a mood. I think it's hard because I think people are going to be much more familiar with anime than Korean animation, or manga from Japan rather than manhwa. Is it manhwa from Korea? Manhwa? I am not that level of weeb or Koreaboo, so I do not know, but I think that will be the point of reference for most English readers when they see an illustration like this. So it will be interesting, but that's very pretty. I haven't got too much to say about the design and layout of that one because it is so comic book coded. Let's go back to the list, and maybe we'll change the category to historical fiction. Don't leave comments. Don't tell me about don't tell me about the plot. This is all about judging by the cover. You will be banned. No. Well, if you keep filling up the chat with that entire thing, you will be kicked off the chat. You're undermining the very premise of this stream. How dare you? the women, and especially I have a feeling once we get into the historical fiction that the details of the books are not going to be very advertiser friendly, as we say in YouTube speak. Book editions. When it decides it wants to load for that. Oh dear, this could be quite grim. Have we made a mistake switching to this category? The helicopter and the landscape and the color scheme together just immediately makes me think Vietnam. I don't want to confirm. See oops, I think I saw the year 1965 in the bottom there. Is that the right timeline? I shouldn't be using that additional information. Come on, I just want to see the additional additions. But I do like, if it is, assuming that this is set around Vietnam, I do like the fact that the typography is not, chopstick typography or what's it called? Chop suey typography. It's very straight down the line. Well, not exactly straight. It's quite an interesting typeface, actually. It's a flared sans serif font, which is unusual. You don't see many of them around. I mean, the most famous one is Optima, which has a very kind of dated feel. It is not showing me, for some reason, it does not want to expand and show me different editions of this book. Maybe that is not helping me. I'll have to do Google search and see if there's any. Oh, okay. There is a very different cover. I just want the images. Oh, do not like that cover as much. Yeah, I mean, the image is... Oh, why the AI generated the thing there? That is not very helpful. I'm guessing this is the other cover. It's not as good at all. Can we open that image? Yeah. Okay. Let's compare the united by courage, bound by friendship. I'm glad that it stuns and it uplifts. There's a lot more text. There's a lot more marketing stuff going on. Second one. I think we are confirmed that there is some. Yeah, I see someone's silhouette, which in something that looks like a cheap How or one of these Asian dresses, maybe. I don't know. It's definitely giving Vietnam vibes. I mean, you can kind of hear the Creedence Clearwater Revival song with those helicopters and the sunset thing, right? It's very it's a very go-to image to use since what was that film? Apocalypse Now, whatever. So I think that's pretty easy. I mean, if it's trying to immediately evoke the setting, it does so pretty without reverting to too many terrible Asian stereotypes. I mean, there's a lot of imagery drawn from the Vietnam War. So it's how simple it is to evoke it. It's quite interesting. This is interesting because it's kind of exotic type adjacent. So the film poster for Jurassic Park uses a font. What is the name of it? I'm forgetting the name of the the font for Jurassic Park. I should know that. I do know that, but I don't remember it right now. I'm going to blame the jet lag. But I'm just going to search and cheat. But what is the name of it? It's called... Name. They're just a new line. Newland, that's right. Newland. So, but Newland is the font for Jurassic Park, and it has this inline version with the kind of interior stroke inside it. And or Neuland, I guess, is because it's like a German thing, right? And it's originally German, I think, or German, one of the Germanic countries it originates from. And for some reason, that has become a trope of anything African related. It's similar to the way that papyrus is used for like Native American shorthand. So this is not that same font. It's not the same typeface, but it is that inline text style. So it is that kind of like exotic other kind of thing. I don't know if it's just subconscious on the part of the designer. But yeah, interesting to see it crop up there. But I'm sure that the subject matter is uplifting and powerful, but also deeply depressing. So we'll move on and see what other depressing things are found in historical fiction. James. Okay. Interesting. Reimagining. Well, no, don't read. Okay, let's see if we can open this. Okay, very interesting. Huh. I'm done with the women. Book, at least. Okay, here we go. Very interesting. So we can see actually the same illustration asset used on these two. And it's been cropped in a very interesting way. That is it is a bit confusing when the title of the book is just a name. Because James is a more normal name than Percival and Everett. Maybe that's just my maybe to Americans it's a little bit more clear, but that's like there's like 3 men's names in a row. James, Percival, Everett, but it's not James Percival Everett. It's the book is called James, the author is Percival Everett, and I think that is clearer on the second one. Oh, and there's another name, Pulitzer. So there's like James Percival Everett Pulitzer. A little confusing in terms of hierarchy of information on this one. And they've just kind of put this illustration. Is it the exact same illustration? I guess over here, I guess you don't have those feet. So I don't know if they drew in those feet or what have you. But interesting, they've cropped out the face. That's a choice. I guess they're trying to kind of give a pullback and reveal. I knew somebody would pick that up. Done with women is an interesting comment out of context. Yes, please. I don't want to have one of those compilations, out of context compilations. You know, leave that to more well-subscribed YouTubers, please. So we have got. I really like the kind of color on the orange version. There's background noise. There's some music, but it's always finding the right balance with that. Whether it's too quiet to be heard as music or whether it's too loud and obnoxious. But I find it just, I like it. So, you can always pick a different stream. We're judging books by the cover design, if you've just tuned in, and we're looking at 2 editions of this one, which is a novel called James, which I did catch. It was a reimagining of Huck Finn. You can't ignore what comes in, but we're trying to just go by the cover itself. And I think, this is a really interesting woodcut style, or it's a woodcut, liner cut. It's kind of printmaking style thing. It's evocative of a particular time period. You see it actually, it kind of reminds me a little bit of some whiskey labels or this kind of thing, but also the typography here for James is very much like wooden type, which was, that 1800s, between 18, I think throughout the 1800s, I guess. I couldn't nail down the exact decades, but there is, because it has a bit of an Old West feel to it, because it was Victorian era, late 1800s, I think. Wood type was a big thing. There's a really good resource online of like the wood type collection. I can't remember who's the collection by, but I'm sure if you search wood type collection, it comes up. This was like when they first did big broadside billboard style printing, and they had really oversized letters that were made out of hardwood that they printed with, and it was all letterpress. And that is evoked by the type here. So it definitely does a good job evoking the time period this is set in, and same with the kind of woodcut style illustration. The colors are really, you don't often see that baby blue and orange, very very strong contrast, complementary colors, but it's kind of working. Is that blue in the water the same blue here? It's kind of an optical illusion because it's kind of in the mix of all of these black lines. It kind of looks darker, but it may be the exact same blue. I like this one more than this one. This one is, what does it feel like? It's trying to be mysterious. Okay, it's evoking a little bit jazz festival to me. I guess this condensed, compressed, what is it called? Didone typeface here. Like the cover of Nevermind by Nirvana. This style, compressed font, is giving me jazz album vibes for some reason in this layout, and I don't know. It's less evocative of like a adventure story than this one, but that's my impression. We can go through the chat a little bit here. Penguin classic vibes with the orange. Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Yeah. Love me some woodcut. Slightly off topic, has been bugging me for ages. Okay, do you know what font was used in the covers of the Claire Keegan books? Not familiar with them, so not off the top of my head. Maybe someone in chat can answer you that. Feels like Nashville concert letterpress posters. Yeah, very wood type and letterpress go hand in hand. I mean, you can use other kinds of type, even display large type with letterpress these days, but originally they were very well associated. Dislike the blue on the orange. Yeah. James Bond. Yeah, there's something about the kind of long, here we go, the long kind of vertical J that is like no, it's almost like this intro sequence to a Bond film or like Archer or one of these spy things where they're falling, like Mad Men. But there's just something about that text going down that is, it feels like it's of a different genre. I think knowing that there's like a Huck Finn connection, I think that the orange cover does a better job evoking that. But we'll move on. I pulled up this article to talk about a little bit on stream. And this is kind of from a few years ago. I was like, oh, should I look at book cover design trends from the last year? And most of the articles were from very dubious sources that I'd never seen before. Maybe some of them are, you know, well known in book talk, book discussion circles or blogs. But as far as design discussion goes, AIGA, Ion Design, was an amazing blog that ended, I think, 2023 or 2022. And they had some really great articles in it, but one of them was about the book cover design trends. And this was from 2021. But like, so this is exemplifying the Frappuccino unicorn trend. And they had some other ones here of like, these are a bit more diverse, but there was another trend, for example, here, the big book look, kind of calling back to 60s, 70s books. But I think the discussion here is quite good about like the influence of Instagram on book cover design and these kind of things. But I'm not seeing a huge obvious trend in the groups of covers, at least from the Goodreads selection. So interesting to see. Should we stay? We'll check the third one for. This one's definitely feels not as good as the others. So let's just have a quick look into it. Yeah, but interestingly, the first photo composite cover I think that we've seen. Yeah, or is this based on? No, it's a novel. It's not based on anything yet. Is that the same? Oh, it's the same idea, but from a different angle. This version. It's nice to actually not talk about ones that are not as good. First kind of photographs we've seen on the cover so far. Interesting. To me, it feels less high quality. Is that a bias that other people share, or is that just like my personal bias? What say you, chat? Do you think that when you see like these photo composite covers that it feels lower quality, the writing inside? That's my feeling. Check out the U rebrand. Okay, I will have to look at the U rebrand. Picture like new book cover designs. An aerial view from an author named Ariel. Yeah, it's I mean, it's I assume at least it doesn't look AI generated. It looks like it's Photoshop composited. But it's not high enough res to know. But the footprints look. I'd say that it looks like the lighting is weird. The lighting is very odd on this figure. Clearly, the red dress is part of the text because it's in both. This one's obviously one photo, but been heavily photoshopped. I can see why they redid it because it looks this like fake blur. It looks quite bad. But also the overhead view of the trees looks very weird in this one too. And the amount of drop shadow, the more that I look at it, the more I'm just burping my way through this part. The more that I look at it, the more details I see that I don't like. So I'm not going to dwell too much and give it a roast, even though it is frozen. It can probably withstand some heat. Sorry, that was right there. The drop shadow is pretty atrocious. I guess they're trying to make the overall design lighter by using white text on a mostly light colored background and want it to stand out, but I don't think that they've been very successful. Yeah, the legibility is very, very poor because this, the intricate amount of detail in the overhead view of these trees. I guess, is she walking on a river? I mean, she's walking on the banks of the river in this one. Is she meant to be walking along the river? Yeah, it raises a lot of questions. The type itself, it's kind of got this like weathered, faux old-timey treatment to it. I don't know if the font has it baked in or if it was done with Photoshop after the fact. Looking at the kind of Z there, I would guess it is like a redrawn type, because that Z is not perfectly straight. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it myself, but I'm clearly, it also could be that I'm clearly not the intended audience for this. I think another part is knowing the genre you're in and the tropes of that genre, because if this is a look that is very common for this kind of historical fiction, maybe it's trying to piggyback off a very popular novelist in this genre. Or maybe this person is, she's already a New York Times best-selling author that I've never heard of, but maybe this is just part of that, the conventions of that subgenre. Out of the two, though, I mean, the type is more legible here, but the actual key artwork is pretty terrible, especially the fake blur. At least this is a bit more. The image is not great, but the image is readable. She's running. Yeah, neither of them are doing great, but I guess it's hard to pick a winner out of those two. I don't think either is winning an award based on the cover design, but apparently the writing has its fans, so we'll leave it at that. Let's switch genres. I'm gonna leave it. I think that this stream has already been going an hour. So, what I'm going to do, rather than continue to go in order, is to put it up to chat for which subgenre to go to next. I think we have mystery, thriller, romance, romantasy, fantasy, science fiction. I didn't even know romantasy was its own genre. I guess non-fiction gets one genre and romantasy gets a whole genre. But yeah, not the intended audience, obviously. Science fiction, horror, debut novel, audiobook, young adult, fantasy, and young adult fiction. Non-fiction, memoir, history, and biography. Can you sound off in the chat of which one I should look into? Because it maybe you'll get one or two more in before the end of this stream. It's not going to be a 5-hour stream. I think probably going to wrap it up in another half hour. So maybe you can get to the top two. Sci-fi is getting a strong reaction so far, which is good. That makes it easy. Apart from sci-fi, what is your second runner-up pick? I would be interested to know. Romantasy? Should I go for romantasy? Or non-fiction is interesting because it's quite different. Maybe I'm going to do sci-fi and non-fiction because out of these, the genres I would be most likely to read would probably be mystery / thriller, and nonfiction, and humor, which is not even in here. So there we go. Yep, good. People are saying nonfiction, so I think that is confirming the course of action. Let's actually start with nonfiction, then go to sci-fi. Okay, there's some interesting ones here. There are some interesting ones here. The Anxious Generation. Let's start here. Jonathan Haidt. This. Okay, I'm not going to say anything because there's definitely another. Yeah, it's not about my feelings about any particular authors. I'm not even sure if it's the right person I'm thinking of. Oh, interesting. What is this? Based purely from the cover. Oh, there's a lot of different versions of this cover, actually. There's the Brazilian one, I guess. Someone can confirm in the chat if that is the Brazilian one, in fact. Okay, the German one. Wow. Okay, I'm not going to bother to try and find the high resolution versions of some of these, but okay, we've got a few to look at here. So we have this one. We have this one, and let's just pull out these two here. Let's start by talking about these less popular or non-English speaking market versions. We'll go one by one. I think the German one, wow, that is some stock photo, like, crapped out design. How long could this cover have taken to design? That is some low effort cover design. I'm sorry. That is not. Yeah, I mean, say what you like about the problems with AI generated art, but that is stock photos also have got a lot of problems. I mean, I guess it does it do. This looks like it's a textbook or something. It does not make me want to read it. Absolutely, it is. Build screen children, I guess, or something like that. It is just ugly. It's a really ugly and unappealing cover with a very generic stock photo that's been badly cut out on that. It is, wow. We won't keep just bashing the German cover, but the Brazilian one, however, assuming Brazilian or Portuguese at least, the Brazilian one is it. Yeah, there's a nice. This one's a little bit more, at least conceptual. I think I actually like this one more than this one with the little baby spaceman thing. I just don't think it's. I think the details are too small on this one. This one, it feels like very Clockwork Orange or something. I guess just the keyword orange is coming out, but like there's something about those repeated shapes that feels a bit Kubrickian. That's not the word, but yeah, it's I think this is like an interesting concept, visual, that probably could be refined a little bit more. Some of the, yeah, I would have liked to see this idea developed more into another cover variant. But again, the interesting factors is, this is marketing. Book covers are marketing, and with smaller markets, when they just do a local version, they may not have the same resources that the main publisher has. And I don't know how much time the designer was given to come up with this, or the reason they couldn't or didn't use the other version. Sometimes it's because the visual metaphor doesn't work in a local cultural context. There are all kinds of reasons why they might not, but I kind of actually like this one if it's talking about just, children's relationship with screens. That's a really striking one. This one, we'll talk about the yellow one last, but this one, I think it's failed the concept is fine, but the execution is wanting in terms of, it's a universe of emojis, but you don't really, it's at the wrong scale for a cover. You have to kind of almost pixel peep to see that these are even emojis of different emotions. Because you kind of look at it and it's just like a baby space cadet floating in some kind of space void with yellow balls. It's not the best. Not the best. This, however, this is going to cause like all kinds of, I think, AI art panic. But is that fair? Is that even warranted? Can we play AI image detective with this? I don't think it is AI, because for a few reasons. One, because it's actually, because of how imperfect it is when you look at the details. In a human way, imperfect. The hair, the kind of shape of the head, the eyelid. It's not imperfect in the way that an AI would do it imperfectly. I feel it's a composite, like that eyelid here. I just think it's, but I may be confident and incorrect. It feels like somebody has drawn over that these smiley faces are 3D rendered, and then the drawing, digital painting thing has kind of been drawn as a new layer on top of that. Normal amount of fingers. I said, you can't always just use that as a you can't use that as a metric anymore, unfortunately. But it doesn't have that. There's a kind of pseudo perfect symmetry, at least to AI faces, because sometimes the details are wrong, but they're all kind of attractive in the same banal way, and this is not attractive. The bags under the eyes, the mouth kind of being a bit asymmetrical. It's all at least had a human go over it, a human artist go over it. We could say at least that. But it's just not going to become an investigation of who should be cancelled for using AI generated images. But I think in this particular case, there's not compelling evidence to say that it is. At least all of these little smiley face emoji balls look like they've actually been rendered and all seem actually round and ball shaped. But putting that aside, because that's the elephant in the room when you look at this, is, okay, did a human artist make this? That's question number one we need to ask. But then we need to ask the deeper question, which is it a good cover, regardless if a human made it or not? I don't think the hierarchy of information is very good. There's a lot of text. Sometimes we saw, like, when the Sally Rooney one was really good in terms of Sally Rooney up front and center, then the title at the bottom, very interesting typeface, and the illustration super clear and well composed. This one, your eye is being drawn down to the bottom to the name Jonathan Haidt, but it's the same typeface for all. The title, the subtitle, his name and credit there. There's just like a lack of hierarchy of information in terms of the typography. And because of all of this swarm of balls in the background, it's a really busy background for the text. So to compensate for that, they've made it blurred behind there and darker. And they've done a better job of doing that than the last one we saw of like the frozen lake or whatever it was, where they blurred really aggressively, but it still kind of doesn't 100% make sense for the image that like these balls down here are kind of close to the camera and would be blurred because of depth of field, but these ones here wouldn't be. I just think it doesn't feel like, I feel like they came up with a concept for the image without thinking about the overall layout of the cover. So not my favorite, even though it's, you know, it's an interesting visual to kind of communicate the claustrophobia and the kind of dark, insidious influence through the screens on mental health and whatever. That's a striking image, but I don't think that it's a very good layout. That's, yeah, we can keep going because that's only one cover, and we want to get to sci-fi as well as non-fiction. It's hate crime. Haha. I like what you did there. Oh, okay. Well, let's not shy away from it. Let's see if we get demonetized. It's not hysteria. That is okay. Well, it's interesting to contrast the two approaches to these different edition covers. I think that's fairly a fairly wide contrast in cover design philosophy between these two. Let's see. Does this one give us a big one? No. Can we get a big one of this? Yes, we can. There we go. Close that. Okay. Yeah. One of these covers is not shy about the subject matter. And one of these is quite euphemistic. Okay. There is a term for this. You probably know the term phallic. The antonym of that is yonic. This is perhaps one of the most yonic covers, appropriately yonic covers that I have ever seen. And maybe that, I think that is a more successful cover than this. Being, it's not hysteria. The lightning bolt, truth about pelvic pain. Yeah, I don't think that being euphemistic is helping the right audience find this book. Like, this is so generic. The kind of euphemistic cover, the Thunderbolt one, is so minimalist, it makes it completely forgettable. It's sometimes, yeah, because minimalism, we're constantly in this terrible discourse about, has minimalism gone too far? But this is, I think, a case where it really is. I think maybe, I don't know who was squirmish, the publisher, the designer. I'm assuming the publisher. I'm sure, and I'm sure also, depending on where I don't know which. I'm assuming that actually that said Penguin. Was it the Penguin one? Yeah, maybe there's something about retail cover design laws. Do you think that they got censored? That, you know, W.H. Smith wouldn't put that cover up in the window display. Interesting. It's an interesting one. There's a lot. I'm not the right channel to talk about this one, but it would be really interesting to hear a video essay about this from another channel with someone more qualified to unpack that. But I think clearly, you know, I think, you know, what can we say about the lightning bolt one? It's fine in terms of the type and the layout. It looks nice, but it's not sending the message that's clear to the right audience to find it. And the other one, even though perhaps, you know, the typography is not as strong, it doesn't need to be as strong because the image is so strong. The image is so clear as day to understand what this book is about, combined with the title. It's not hysteria. That image, that's really all you need to understand at a glance. They're very effective. Very, very effective compared to the euphemistic one. Let's go. Was there one more in nonfiction we should briefly touch on? No, let's just go back to, let's go to science fiction, I think. Let's go to science fiction, and this is really interesting from a color theory perspective. Oh, and there is a different colored variant. Let's see. There's that one. Is there a... That's... Oh. Okay. There is Spanish language. I think Spanish, or is it Portuguese again, perhaps? I think that's Portuguese. They seem to be the only one out of step. Do tempo. Is it Portuguese? Can someone in our comments section clarify if I'm looking at a Portuguese version? But that is, you know, fine. Again, it feels like somebody didn't have a lot of time to work on this one. The Ministry of Time. Yeah, it's a little basic compared to the other one. Excuse me. Is the blue background helping or hurting the design? Interesting. We had also that other book. That was indeed, it was Brazilian Portuguese, probably, yeah. Interesting. We had that other book, the Korean one, where the nighttime scene had been turned blue. I wonder if there was some testing about the blue version versus the black, because it seems to be the black one mostly, but there's still quite a few blue. It makes me curious about the book industry of how much A/B testing they do on these, but I don't think that the blue background fits the rest of the aesthetic of the design. It's clearly this very retro. I mean, there's even like fake grain in it. So it's kind of obviously going for this very throwback 60s, 70s vibe, with the fake noisy grain and stuff in it. The multicolored thing, it's, you know, I guess it's trying to, there's two layers of text. It's 3D, there's two layers of text, it's multicolored. I guess it's going for a very visual, what would you say? Visual manifestation of this kind of multiverse, multi-timeline thing. This is, judging by the cover, this is what I expect to see in like the plot of this book, purely based on its typographic choices. Is interesting. I don't think we've seen that in any other examples here, but I think they've used it really cleverly to try to not give away specific characters or the plot, but there is this definite implication of multi-layered, multiverse, maybe not specifically, but in multiverse adjacent kind of theory or something there. Otherwise, I don't see any other reason why it would be this particular multicolored, multi-layered construction. So that's my feeling. Does it make me like it visually? No, it's like too much from a purely aesthetic point of view, for me, it's like too much color in too tight. It like reminds me of one of those, you know, what are they called? The like on a bus or in a subway car, the kind of patterned material they put on there to distract from the stains. Parquet? No, that's parquet flooring. What am I thinking of? But I understand it's not just an aesthetic choice for like the vibes. It feels like it's a motivated choice to do a bit of storytelling and setting expectations for the reader. So I'm not gonna fault it for being kind of jarring to the eye. I guess that it's motivated for a reason. The type itself is definitely throwback with these like dangling little rounded serif flourishes and stuff like that. It's very 60s, 70s, I Dream of Jeannie, you know, kind of stuff. So yeah, it's funky. Oh yeah, sorry, some people have come in. Moquette, thank you, Hubris. This to do a reset, and then this stream, maybe we'll go another 20 minutes. Is about judging the books by their covers without knowing anything about the plot, or as much as possible. Purely by the graphic design, and I've chosen the Goodreads list for the year because it was the easiest way to see multiple editions of the same books. The New York Times and the Sunday Times bestseller lists were much more tricky, so this is purely for convenience that we're looking at that. We're going to go back to the sci-fi section and see what else is in here. And oh, this one is a really not. And the nice thing about Goodreads also is that there's like a lot of self-published. It's not necessarily the kind of major. Yeah, I mean this one. Oof, this is okay. This is quite interesting. Oh, okay, that's very different. Editions. I would guess that some of the genres would have more self-published and stuff like that. Like, what was it, Romantasy? Some of that's more fan fiction adjacent stuff is going to have different levels in terms of the cover designs. Can we get a high-res one somewhere here? Or there maybe just isn't. I think I'm going to have to go to Amazon to get. Oh, doesn't like that I'm in private mode. Okay. All right. Yep, there we go. And then is that all of the only? Yep, there's only one concept. Interesting. I think this is probably one of the less polished covers. 11 contestants, 9 months to win the perfect child. The king of near future what ifs. Yeah. Okay. So he is a USA Today best-selling author. You don't put that unless you are definitely not a New York Times best-selling author. No shade. But that is like that marketing aspect of book cover design that you would put that there. This feels very self-published quality cover. Interesting that these are not real silhouettes. It looks like these have got some detail to them. I can't tell if they're illustration or photo though, because they have just that. They're in the uncanny valley between an illustration. I think it would be cleaner to have it just pure silhouette, and then the girl's little, pink dress and shoes would pop more if these were completely black silhouettes. Because what does it, giving hints of their different clothing is not enough to compel me more by the premise. Like the fact that this guy looks like maybe he's a pilot or something. No, I can't tell that, but like you can see the cuffs of the shirts, you know, poking out of the jackets. That detail is completely extraneous. Doesn't help me connect with this concept. I think that it's cleaner with, you know, 11 contestants. Do you need to show, is this 11? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, do we need to show all 11 of them in a row? And this is not getting into we haven't talked about the font. The font is very basic. I'm not 100% sure of which font it is. It feels very system fonty. Is it Treb? I have a feeling it's probably one of the newer Microsoft default fonts, but it might not be. It might not be one of the Microsoft default fonts, one of the new ones, but it has that vibe. It has that kind of, this is not a display font, not intended for headline use. It's like a digital sans serif square kind of feeling. Feels like a Tahoma trebuchet, not trebuchet, Verdana style font, but it's not that. I don't think. I think the proportions are slightly different, but it's yeah, it's not a good, it's not a great cover design. I think also the texture, its texture thing, I think, is not, and the reflections, all choices that whoever designed this should have been asking themselves are, why are they there? Like, why are they there? Why not have an actual solid color? Solid color white is very stark, but it could even be just maybe actually a soft pink would reinforce this like thing of like the child's contrast with all of these like mysterious grown-ups, or just a softer shade to soften it, to kind of add more contrast. It's the little reflections as if they're standing on like a, you know, shiny marble lobby, but then this doesn't actually create a field ground which they're standing on with this texture all the way from the top to the bottom. Yeah, there's a lot of things, a lot of low-hanging fruit for revisions and refinements of this concept. But I mean, the visual of the little girl standing amongst these other grown-ups, that bit is good. The rest of the elements going on the cover definitely could be done better. No idea about the quality of the writing of the book, but the quality of the graphic design of the cover makes me think it is not good. And I wonder if it would have been higher ranked. I don't know. I wouldn't say it would be necessarily higher ranked, but I don't know if it would feel more legit with a better cover design. That is like the thing, you know, the reason why the saying is don't judge a book by its cover is because it doesn't necessarily reflect the contents inside. And to have a charitable view, because this book is like the second place winner in this category of readers' favorites, obviously the writing does appeal to a lot of people. I just don't know how many people find the cover that appealing. We'll leave it. I'm going to take a little bit of a look at that. Yeah, there's some thoughts there. We have reached half past. Shall we do one more book from the sci-fi section, or should we take a dip into one final other category to end the stream? Let me know what you think, chat. Should we, if we pick one, the top one from one of these to end the stream, which one should it be? Just to read back in the chat, should a good book cover have more than one typeface? Not necessarily. I mean, I think it needs contrast. It needs hierarchy. So the point of typographic hierarchy or visual hierarchy is that your eye knows what order to read things in. It is hard to do that with one typeface in the same weight, in the same, or like, what was it Jonathan Haidt's thing? If they're all regular weight, the same font, all in all caps, it's really hard. The only thing that you have to establish the type hierarchy then is the size. And that's going to be determined partly by the width of the text that you have to write out. So you're tying your hands behind your back if you limit yourself to just everything being uniform in terms of setting a good type hierarchy. So I would say that more than saying it's a rule you have to use more than one. For example, just looking at Stephen King's one, that's all just one typeface, but it's so much less text. And the word king jumps out at you immediately. And because his name is so famous, that's all you really need to know is like, oh, it's King, Stephen King. It's a new book, not one that I've read before, if you're someone who follows Stephen King. Yeah. Okay, we got some people saying romantasy. I think there's going to be a bit to uncover. Oh, no pun intended, but definitely we found one to look at with this one. So let's finish the stream by looking at the House of Flame and Shadow. This is, wow, so much to take in here. Do we have multiple editions? My suspicion is that no, we won't see multiple cover variants of this. Wrong. We have one more. Is it? It's not, and it's not Brazil this time. It is. Dutch. I think this is Dutch. Yeah, Dutch or Afrikaans, but I'm pretty sure that's Dutch. Okay, let's start with the oh, maybe that surname, maybe is it Afrikaans? Any Dutch or Afrikaans speakers? I'm not familiar with the work of Chuck Tingle. Maybe I've encountered it before and I don't remember it at this moment, but maybe I will search for that in the future. Romantasy. This is not saying romantasy, it's definitely saying more fantasy in this one. This dragon, iris, egg, cityscape thing. You know, if you want to have your AI generated art conspiracy investigation in here, we won't dive into that, but there's the towers in this city look suspiciously melty. Not a high quality particular cover, I think. So we'll just we'll keep our powder dry to examine them. This one, excuse me, is this human art? Can we make any conclusive cases about that? 5 fingers, but with something going on behind her hand there, which is maybe just been cropped out. Maybe it's the tail. 5 fingers on each hand. Does the... Okay, it's published by Bloomsbury. That's a legit publisher. Does the kind of flourishing stuff make any sense? It does look symmetrical for the most part. I don't know if I wouldn't bet my loved ones or my house on this being 100% human created. I'm sure that this was not spat out. I mean, one thing I will say is that for this art, that the layout overall is well integrated with the art. I mean, that the face is clearly in the center of the cover, and there's adequate copy space for the author name and the name of the title. And I don't think that you can get that fine level of control out of an AI image generator without giving it like at least some kind of framework of reference images for the layout and stuff like that. I don't think that someone just shat this out. This is not AI slop, although it is the amount of intricate detail in there, and its kind of wonkiness makes me question if it was 100% human art. I wouldn't speculate on that, but that always being the elephant in the room that we have to talk about when it comes to covers, to any design now, is what is going on in here. I think this is clearly part of a long-running series, a Crescent City novel. So whoever is in the market to buy this book probably is very familiar with who this character is on the cover, the Snake Lady. And I'm assuming that they will be probably more clued in onto the motifs of like the snakes and the branches. And yeah, the Dragon Lady. What exactly is going on? Is that a bullet there? So I think this is interesting because it's not like the other books that we've seen. It's clearly part of a longer running series by a pretty well-known author inside this subgenre. She's a New York Times bestseller. And the visuals don't make a lot of sense to an outsider, but I don't think that this is meant to be like the entry point, I feel. When you have a really a fairly long-running series in a very niche genre, I think that you probably get inducted into it because you're into that genre, and you kind of get word of mouth about the series and start with the first in the series, is my feeling. Crescent City, I mean, the crescent is right there on the cover, right in the middle. It's also on that. The typography is different but only two. There's only two fonts, is there? That A there in author is definitely the A here in flame. It's very and a Crescent City novel and Sarah J. Maas are in the same one as well as each other. This is an interesting one. It's giving a bit more the author name is giving a bit more of that kind of more classic deco style stroke contrast sans serif. There's a little bit of that, a little bit of Optima in the S. It's a bit classy, you know. It's not trying to be too genre fiction. It's trying to, you know, give a little bit of a vibe of this is not complete paperback airport novel stuff. Although the name of the particular book in the series is much more exaggerated with those A, M, W, you know, the serif set cut off, not against the baseline. That's quite unusual. It's clearly trying to be, I'm pointy like a sword, exaggerated display type. But I mean, it still works, I think, for longer text up here. Interesting mix of upper and lowercase, House of Flame and Shadow. Yeah, it's quite interesting. And for how busy the background, I had a brief audio dropout. Sorry, hopefully, I don't know when that was. Is the audio working okay now? Because we're going to wrap up pretty quick. I'm hoping that the audio is working okay. But for how complex this is, in terms of, let me see that. There we go. how complex this illustration is. I think they've actually pretty successfully managed to make the type stand out. With the drop shadow just, obvious it's there, but not too, as far as the drop shadows go, not the worst offender. Could they have tried to hide it a little bit more by integrating the illustration, darker areas into that art? Yeah. But I mean, this seems like on the high end of like genre fiction, especially in a genre, there's not a prestige genre, per se. So I guess, from an outsider's perspective, probably not one that's taken extremely seriously. But I mean, clearly a lot of effort, regardless of whether some of the elements have been, done with AI assistance. Clearly a lot of thought has gone into the layout of this book and the artwork, and it's gonna appeal to people who are fans of this author and this series. And it's got a nice, what I would say is actually, we haven't looked at is how does these covers look in small form. And I think it actually kind of works pretty well as a small form thing. Oftentimes we think about covers as, we look at them big, sitting on a coffee table or something, but when they're kind of on social media, when they're in an online shop, they're often just little thumbnails, and this kind of does catch your eye. Could have been a lot worse with as someone completely unfamiliar with romantasy as a subgenre. I was expecting the quality to be a lot worse, so I'm kind of, came in with low expectations. Those low expectations were somewhat exceeded, at least in the execution of the layout and balance and things like that. So I think we're going to leave it there. Was there anything that called out on this page? I mean, I like this one. Is just at a. This is not what I would associate. Oh shoot! I've been sleeping on the fantasy genre. That's got the most interesting typography of all of these different subcategories. But fantasy, clearly the most interesting typography is going on there. Maybe I should come back and do another stream just about the fantasy ones. Or would you like to see, a video talking more about cover design, maybe in collaboration with someone who's more into the book world, someone who knows something about these books? I think it would maybe be a fun kind of thing to do with someone who knows about the plots, and I'm kind of guessing what they're about purely from the design, and they can kind of react in real time of how badly I'm getting it wrong. That could be an interesting element into doing something a bit more planned on this topic. Let me know if that sounds like it's kind of a fun idea, and I might look at doing that. I'll tease that my next heavy research video is going to be on handwriting in the US and the UK, and there's a great project that looks around at handwriting models around the world that you should check out. I will tease that now in case because it's the end of the year and you might find yourself bored. You should look up this project, Primarium, which shows you handwriting models from around the world, including most Europe, South America, I think it's this one, South Africa. We did talk about Afrikaans for a second there, but they are really different from each other. There's so many on here, I can't compare them all, but I'm kind of doing some research into looking at the handwriting models and penmanship manuals from both sides of the Atlantic, and how handwriting got so different on both sides of the pond. So that is something I had hoped to publish this year, but now we're so late, already mid-December, I think it will be start of next year sometime that will be coming. So keep an eye out for that, and do check out this website if that sounds like an interesting topic to you. I'm gonna yeah, thank you all for jumping on the stream. And I hope, I'm just going to quickly scan the chat to see if I missed any questions from you guys. If you want to shoot me any last minute questions before we wrap up, do pop them in the chat. I'm glad to hear that I'm confusing Stitch by Chop's girlfriend. My channel has that effect on a lot of people's partners. Other people who follow my channel often write to me and tell me that their significant other or is confused by their interest in my channel. And, you know, that's not necessary. You don't need to actually tell me that. You can totally keep that information to yourself. No, I do appreciate it when anyone lets me know that they're that I've made them interested in design or lettering stuff, much to the chagrin of their other half. Always happy to hear that. Thank you all. I don't think there was anyone asking any other specific questions. I hope that someone got answers in the chat to their questions about particular authors that I wasn't familiar with. But I'm going to read up on some of the suggestions you guys gave, and I hope you all have a great end of your year 2024 and December. Yeah, I think there's going to be like a minute of awkwardness when this ends before the chat finally acknowledges it, that this is the end of the stream. But thank you all for jumping in, and I will catch you with a proper video hopefully next year, not too late into next year.